welcome everybody. So this feature spotlight that we're going to have this event, it's a pretty special event for us, right? So we introduced the project dashboards with our latest release 7.0. And this is one of those features that have been often asked by a lot of testers, test leads, test managers, basically a comprehensive and quick way to actually track your quality metrics as well as productivity metrics. So happy to kind of introduce this feature to you if you haven't already used this. And we also have Vivek on call. He's our product expert. He will be walking us through this very key feature, right? And before we actually get started, before I hand this over to him, there are a couple of questions that I actually wanted to ask you all. It's a poll question. So Josh, if you don't mind, if you can just bring up the first poll, basically your take on how do you currently track your QA progress, currently, right? So take a few seconds, think about it. And if you want to actually elaborate on anything, you can always use the chat to let us know anything that you want to actually elaborate on. But we'll just give it a few more seconds for the, poll question to kind of conclude. Alrighty. So significant percentage do use in-tool dashboards, but there is a percentage of you guys out there where Excel sheets and manual status meetings and inconsistent way of tracking things is being done. So thank you for answering this question. We have one more question, and then I promise you I'll hand this over to Vivek. The second thing that we wanted to kind of check with you guys is what are those tests and productivity related metrics that is important for you and something that you guys closely track, either for within your team or with something that you want to share to your leadership, right? So again, take a minute, think about it and answer these questions. And if there is anything that you want to kind of elaborate on, just like the previous question, please use the chat functionality to just let us know. And while you're doing this, I just want to give you a reminder. If there are any questions that you have for us along the way, please use the Q&A section, the Q&A tab, to basically ask us those questions. We have a few other product experts who will be, willing to answer those things. And there may be a few things that I can have Vivek kind of explain on the call as well, right? Alrighty. Thank you for letting us know these answers and giving a little bit of insight into the way you guys kind of track your metrics. With these, I'll just go ahead and hand this over to Vivek to walk us through this very interesting session. So Vivek, all yours.
Hey, thanks, Naren. So yeah. So with this, as Naren said, with ACCELQ 7.0, we brought in the idea of dashboards or project dashboards where we allow product managers and QA managers and all to have a very clear understanding or a health progress of how their assets or executions are behaving, right? So we'll go through the slides first and we'll show that how the things are, and then we'll go for a demo and we'll explain like how you can create a dashboard, how you can edit a dashboard, and what are the level of configuration that ACCELQ provides. So very fundamental question, why project dashboard? First of all, you get a single pane of view for both of your automation as well as manual test assets as well as your executions. You can track it without delving into individual test results, right? As of now, you have to go and track each test result, and you have to have a mental summary of how well the progress is of let's say a given project. It may be a test suite or maybe a scenario. over a given period of time. So as a pro tip, it's being said that you keep your dashboards tied to a cycle. It could be a regression cycle, it could be a sprint cycle, it could be anything. So that's the fundamental reason why we brought project dashboard. So accessing the dashboard, you have, so now dashboard comes right just below the result tab, which you had in the left panel. So, and a dashboard is at the project level. So each project gets one dashboard, and a dashboard will consist of a number of widgets. You can add any number of widgets that you want. And of course, they have this functionality of drag, resize, and reorder, which helps you to lay it out however you want, which could be anywhere. You could have a top priority of items at the beginning and then the lower detailed items at the bottom. We do allow export and we allow drill down of a widget, which shows you the tabulated view. So widget types and its use cases. So we when we did the widgets and the dashboard, we wanted you all to have a head start. So that's why we created template widgets. Template widgets are just ready-made widget samples, which are just configured there. All you have to do is just choose and save them, and they will help you to get a very good jump start on figuring out on how to start with project dashboards. You can have widgets like based on statuses, based on user created, based on execution time, and more. We'll talk about it more, but yeah, you can have what are called template widgets, which are just ready-made. Of course, you can come up with custom widgets as well, which is something that you build from scratch. You can choose app environments, you can choose the test suite that you want to focus on. And of course, you can choose your browser types, you can choose your execution parameters, custom fields, and all. As a pro tip, we always suggest that you start with a template. The template gives you the base. And from there on, you keep on adding more and more configuration items so that you can build very specialized widgets that you want to very focus on. So building a custom widget, we'll just go through it like a step by step, what are the process that we have. And once we get to the demo, you will be able to relate to it a bit better. So for us, you can have fundamentally three type of widgets at the execution level, which is the test execution. Assets are like scenarios, context, actions, test cases, test suites. And activity being the special one, which is the user activity. Of course, you have automation or manual to choose from. Do you want to focus only on automation assets, or do you want to focus on your manual assets? We have filters, which are like date, result type, test suite type, um, recurring jobs, even custom fields like module, priority, etc. So, and then we have something called as grouping. So the grouping is at three levels. So you start with primary, you add maybe the first level of group could be status. The second level of group could be a custom field, let's say priority. And at the third level, you can have maybe created timestamp. So up till we allow three levels of grouping, and it helps you to add more level of sub data sets, which once you come and see it, you will realize that they help you cut down the given data into more granular data sets, which are unique, and you can find more insights on it. We have number of chart types, bar, line, stack charts, group charts, pie charts, and all. So one quick build example that you have here is, let's say, field regression tests this week. So that's the English. If you want to find it into the technical terms, it would be like you are interested in execution. You are interested in the executions which have status field. You want the pick a very specific suite. The suite type is regression. And you are only interested in the last 7 days of execution. Of course, once we come to the the demo, it will become very clear to you all. Again, as I said, a dashboard can consist of any number of widgets. So we do allow changing the layout for your needs. You can drag, drop, and reorder the widgets depending on how you want to priority or how you want to group or how you want to club them. You can resize your widgets. Of course, you can get a widget from the lowest resolution up to the entire screen size, which can help if you have a time series chart where you want to look at time frame. Plus is a very handy tool to insert charts in between. You can do basic operations like renaming, editing, cloning, deleting, as well as you can export and copy. So exporting the data is in an Excel sheet. It exports you to the current snapshot of whatever you are seeing. And copy report link is useful when you want to just copy and share the widget across your team members. Something about best practices that we want to focus on is that there is a data synchronization which happens at every 15 to 30 minutes. That means if you created something, let's say if you added a scenario or a test suite and you want to see it in your dashboard, it's expected that you will get up to a 15-minute of delay before the data is synced. And then you will see a count increase in your existing widgets. Maybe it could be scenarios created in a date. So today you created 4, you added 1 more, and then you have to wait around 15 minutes so that the count increases to 5. Explore the report view by linking chart signals, of course. So that's one thing that we want to talk about as well, which is although you have your charts, which is like pie chart or a bar chart, but you also get the granular tabulated view of it, which is what we call the report view, where if you click on a data set, it will show you, okay, how did this, let's say, pie chart segment came up, how many data has participated in it, what is the nature of it, and you will get a detailed Excel sheet like view. Resize widgets, of course, if you have time series, it makes sense that you go for a column chart and you take the full width of the screen, because you will be having data at each day, right? So maybe if 30 days or 60 days, you want to have a wider view. Coming up, if you compare it with a pie chart, which takes a narrow space, it's fine. You can take it maybe 1/3 of the screen, and that is enough to give you enough visualization on what the picture is. Cloning is a very effective way to create or basically to jumpstart on charts, because most of the time what would be is that you want the same chart on the automation as well as in the manual, right? Then you could also have charts which could span across app environments, which could span across custom fields, right? So each category could just be one variation away from it. And of course, we want you to be very descriptive about when you're naming charts, because looking at the chart, you might not get the clear indication of what kind of data it is trying to show. So a very clear and concise name very clearly indicates, okay, this is what the chart is going to, or is it representing, right? So I think now I can take you guys to the demo and just, sorry, so as I said, dashboard is now a new option that comes under your results. And as you see the screen, this is a pre-build that I created, and you can see this is what a view would be. Let's say you have n number of widgets that you created, you would fundamentally see something like this. We'll go through how each of them is created, how each of them functions, but this is, I want you guys to see and have a feel of what the final picture would look like. As I said, you can resize and have a wider screen for the time series, a smaller screen for pie charts or God charts. So that's for the theory about it, but let's go and we'll just create and see what are the different aspects or how we have given you the UI so that you can create a widget very simply. So on the top, you see your add widget button. You click on it and you're shown with 93 templates. So again, this template is dependent on how your project is configured. At base, you can get up to 40 predefined templates. Now, every addition depends on how many custom fields do you have in your project, how many execution parameters do you have in your project, do you have automation as well as manual in your project, right? So each of that value adds one more template here into your project, which helps you to like cover most of your base cases. And if you have a really reason why you want to have a very complex one, you can of course build on top. So we'll take one example. Let's say I take test suits by type. As you see, it says auto. That means there would also be a manual version of it because I have auto as well as manual license with me. There is one more thing that I said. So that you have templates as well as you have custom. Custom is something that we will talk about it, but it's just the scratch version of templates. So we'll just take the test suit by auto for an example. Let's say if I want to add it, this is the form layout that shows up. The way this layout is being divided is divided into multiple sections, and each section gives you a unique feedback. If I had to just choose here, as I said, you can analyze on test executions, you can analyze on test assets. We have chosen test suites here. You can have user activity, and of course, you have automation as well as man. Since this was a pre-built template, this was pre-selected test suite type, and you get a preview. The preview shows you the count. You have 15 filter based, you have 14 static, and you have 12 requirement based test suites in your project. So the way we say is that you start first with filters. The filter is fundamentally to narrow down your search space. Of course, in the case of assets like scenarios, test suites, actions, context, test cases, you want to see the complete picture. You want to see the entirety of things. But when it comes to factors like test executions and user activity, you are very specific up to a time period, which is like last 30 days, one sprint away, right? So that would be, let's say, 90 days or so. So the way we say is that you use filters to narrow down your search space, and then you use group by to have different level of visualization. Of course, we'll go through multiple examples, but let's check one. So it says you can add multiple filters like status, model, etc. Let's just see how it. So if I open this, I see an option where I can select a filter and I can assign a value to it. The way filters are in this case is that it picks all the custom fields that is available in your project, shows you here, which is priority, module, sprint, and test type. You can have activity based, which is like created user, last modified user, created date, last modified date. And you have a test suite type, which is basically filter based, static based, and requirement based. So if I say, let's say I am only interested in created date last 30 days. So it gives me a set of options where it says that, hey, you can, what do you want to reduce your search space on? So I said, okay, I'll just take off last 30 days of data. And will have this as a filter. So that means what I'm saying is, hey, among all the test suites that you have, just I care about the last 30 days created. If I choose to preview, I get more because these were just created a few days back. If I go further down, I can go to the last 7 days. Is if you see the data changes. So in the last 7 days, I created 5 static, 2 filter based, and 2 requirement based. Of course, when I said that we support different kind of charts, you have something pie chart, you have a Gantt chart, you can even go for a bar chart, right? And of course, some options are disabled here. I'll just show you what it is. So you can add multiple filters. It's not limited to anything. You can add all of them. And you can say that, hey, I would like to focus mainly on maybe only on high ones. Let's say we put a bit more. Yeah. So what I said here is that, hey, I want to focus on test suites which have been created in 7 days, and I want to pick only those test suites whose custom field priority is either of the values, which is high, low, or medium. And that's what I said when I say about narrowing down your search space. Of course, I'll show you what happens when you play with the group. So let me just remove this group for now. If I remove this group, I get activated the table chart. And what it shows me the tabulated view. No groups, just plain table, and only top 10 records have been shown. Of course, once you save it, you'll get more records. But this being the preview section, you can have like only first 10 records. So now, as I said, we allow grouping up to 3 level. So let's say if I take my first group by created date, then I take my second group maybe as priority, and then I take my third group maybe as a type. So as you saw that as I changed the grouping, these options were enabled and disabled. So what do they say is that if you have no grouping, you get table chart. If you have only primary group, then you get pie, gauge, line, area, and bar chart. If you have only two level of grouping, then you get multi-line, stacked area, stacked bar, and group bar. So I'll just show you one case here is that if I just remove this and I take stacked area, okay, that's fine. So what I see is that over the period of time, only few were created. So 4 low, 1 low was created, 2 low, and 2 more. So of course, let's pick something better and see distribution. Just remove this. Okay, for the last 7 days, we have only this. So let's widen up the data, and we have got numbers. And for the sake, let's just have test type. Let's have this one. Better visuals. Of course, what you're seeing is a very preview set, so that's why the data is too much to fit into it. And of course, once you save it, you will see it in picture where you want to actually widen it. And once you go tertiary group, of course, the final chart type, which is the stack group bar chart, will enable. So if you say proceed, let's say we give it a name. Again, we should give a very meaningful name. So let's say test suites created in last 30 days. And you can have a description again, which helps you clarifying more on what the chart type is. Categorized all test subtypes and the classification on this over last 30 days. You can hit create and you get this. So as I said, you start with a template and then you grow. So what I mean by when I say when you grow is that you can come back, you can edit, and you can add more. You can add any number of filters, but you can add up to 3 level of groups only. So for now, I'll just keep it here. And of course, I created multiple of them. So if you read them, recently created actions, these were the actions created over a period of time. Asset distribution, which is like how many auto scenario, how many actions, and context and test suite I have. Of course, you can go much others, like you can just have context by status, context by browser capability, and more. Of course, I'll go through once again on how many options that we have, just to show you the depth that we have covered. So although I showed you test asset, test executions is a very special one, because here you get two level of filters. The first level of filter comes from execution filter. I'll just show you what it is. So you have options like app environment, web browser, web OS, test suites, CI/CD, recurring jobs executed by user. So what it means that you can filter out what do you want to really focus on. I can add any number. I can add web browser to be Chrome and Safari or Edge. And then I can say, hey, I would like to have given duration of last 30 days. So that becomes the execution or the job level filter that you have, but you also have something called as test case, because at the end of the day, it's the test case that's getting executed, right? So you can choose on how you want to further filter down your results based on test cases. So let's say I can say, hey, what was the application version? So 1, 2, and maybe 3. So what it helps you, as I said, the filters help you to narrow down your search space to look at very concisely and very specifically what you're looking for. And of course, you will have multiple variants of this widget, because as you saw, I added for test and staging. You can probably have one very specific for production. You can have very specific for, let's say, let's say for Firefox and uh, Internet Explorer, and maybe again, you can have a number of combinations, however you want to choose. And of course, at the top, you have your automation and manual. That means the same widget configuration can be cloned and being configured on manual rather than being on the automation assets. So for now, I think that's how we have separated out the space where we allow you to choose an asset. Then we allow you to narrow down your search space by adding more and more filters. And of course, on the top, to have a better visualization, we allow you to add it group up to 3 levels. So I'll just cancel this for now, and I'll just show you what a custom widget is. It's exactly the same. It's just none of the options are pre-selected. You start from the scratch, you start from the beginning, and exactly the same flow goes on. So let's say if I go with this time by test suite, I have so many test suites that I want to focus on. So these are the test suites that I want to focus on. It could be given duration, again coming back to last 30 days. And maybe we want some group by executed by user. So that's one configuration that you have. And as I said, you can create up to actually 256 widgets. Yeah, so you can have last 1 day duration, which will be 1. And of course, the second time you clone this widget and you create one where you can have 7 days. So it will always move every day the last 7 days. It will be a moving window, and you can have 1 day basis, you can have 7 day basis, you can have 30-day basis, as well as you can go custom. You can go really fixed date time. Let's say you're focused on a very specific date time range. You can go that way as well. All the options that are available as filter are also available as groups. So let's say by test suite, yeah, you can go and add, yeah, up to 256 widgets per project. That's the max count that we have. So I'll just cancel this and I'll show, let's say if we have a good one, this one. I don't know. Okay, so what it is, yeah. So this is a nice one. So what I am saying that, hey, I have created context by browser compatibility, sorry. So created date I have, and then I have browser compatibility as one of the custom fields of context. And this gives me, hey, you have these many combinations of data. And this is how the chart shows up. So if I go here, one of the nicest thing that we have, if I want to show, is let's say this one. So as I said, we have ACCELQ dashboard view, which is the collection of widgets. Also, if you click here, You get the tabulated view, which is actually the real values which made up those counts. You can see it as a detailed Excel report kind of view where you literally see, okay, what are the data sets that participated in getting me that count. Of course, you can again have options to filter from here, which is nothing that you choose options on how you want to again change the values. Maybe this time I'm choosing the combination of dashboard and new. I can go maybe dashboard and work in progress, and the count changes. It refreshes. And this is what we call the report view, where you see the things in detail. Of course, you can come back and export, which is standard expectation. And you can see the chart view of the same data in a maximized screen. The reason we had this maximized screen is because at cases when you have a time series, you really want to utilize the full screen. So if I go back to this sample where you have this kind of thing, you have the maximize view button here as well, which means if you click on it, you see the complete screen. You take over the complete screen and you can see things. One of the things that you can do is that you can zoom, which further narrows down your data into very discrete levels. So let's say you had maybe 6 months, and because of 6 months, the data was not shown of the entire set, and it was being binned, let's say 3 days, depending on how your screen size is. So you can come back, you can control click, you can zoom in a region, and it will zoom, allowing you to further drill down and further see what happened at maybe 1 month level, right? Yeah, you can do all of that. If I have sample to show, so let's say the executions, you have options like test performance across browsers, OS, mobile OS, recurring CI/CD, app environment. You can have daily test report, you can have weekly test report, monthly test report, executed by user, and much, much more. As I said, it starts with base 40, but it goes as many custom fields as you have. So let's say if I just get rid of this, get rid of this. So I have this execution size, I have only few. So let me pick a meaningful example. Let's see this one. Okay, so these are the pass and these are the fields, that's fine, but let's say I take by this gets data. Okay, that's fine. So that's what we have. So let's say in this case, every day, how many were passed, and sorry, how many executions happened, and what is the status of it each, and this status of this, the test cases status that you have. So that's all we have for the configuration, the understanding, and the behavior aspect of dashboard. We will of course have this set of options that we had it initially, because we thought that these are the options that would make the best sense and will have you covered 90% of your cases. And if not, we'll see and we'll add more options. One of the other things that you can do is, of course, you can resize. Resize, as I said, the resize helps you to view things more in however order you want to lay out. For example, as I said, if you have a time series, you really probably want it to take the full screen. So because time series are very specific in nature, where you want to see over a time period. But if you have something like a pie chart or a donut chart, you really don't need that much of space. So you can order things as well as you can move things however you want. So if I move this, I can move this to the top, and I can have it very the way I want it to, right? I think that's all I have for the demo, and I think we can take questions now. Nareen, do you want to take over?
Yeah, there are a lot of excuse me, there are a lot of questions that is getting answered over on the Q&A. But I do want to ask you something that I've seen many people have been asking, one or the other variation of this question. can I share widgets as an Excel or a PDF? The context is people want to export this, or people want to be sharing this with non-licensed users, or people want to be sharing this with their higher management. So can we export as Excel or PDF?
Correct. So right now we have export as Excel, and we have it in our pipeline to export it as a PDF. So when I say export by Excel, it will of course get you the Excel sheet of it, and you get the entire data. If I open this up, it will show me the entire data as of that snapshot, and you can share it with uh, sorry, and you can share it with your team members, of course, outside of ACCELQ. When it comes to other way around, you can have the report link, which is, it will directly land you onto the report page, which is nothing but this, the tabular screen that you have. And this is the link that you can share. Of course, you can come back and export from here. As you said, for the PDF ones, which is the PDF of this widgets, it's in our pipeline, and we'll get it soon.
All right, thank you. I'll actually ask you a few more questions, Vivek. There's another question on if a combination of both automation as well as manual projects can be had in the same, view, or like in the dashboard.
Yeah, so that is also that we wanted to have in our future pipeline, which is basically, as of now, as you saw, the options. Let me pick something like test suites. You have the option of automation and manual. That means your entire widget either corresponds to an automation or it corresponds to a manual, but not both. We do want to add this option, and we want to see how that will be useful to everyone, where you can have a fundamental group of automation and manual at the base level, and every filter or every group that you add sits on top of it. But yeah, that's on our pipeline as well, and then we'll see when we get it out.
Thank you for that. Hey, here's another interesting question that one of the users asked. Is there a way to set all the widgets with a single global time?
Correct. So one thing that I wanted to talk about is the global time. So in ACCELQ, as you know, you can have custom fields where you can have custom fields based on time. You can have execution parameters, which is also time. You can have created timestamp, and you have also last updated timestamp. So in ACCELQ, there are various ways you can add time factor into your project. And since each entity has various options, multiple options to add time factor, that's why we didn't add something called as a global time. And the time comes at each widget level. And that's why we wanted you to keep the name of widgets very specific, which most of the time is helpful to understand that this widget is either at the entire project level, or it narrows down to a given time stamp, because everything else is visible. It's the time factor that is not very intuitive at the first sense. So if you have it by name, let's say recently created actions could have been named as actions created in last 30 days, which is very concise, very clear, and gives immediate understanding that, hey, it is only focused on last 30 days. Yeah, I think that answers your question, right, Naren?
Yeah, it does. Thank you. So I'll actually move on. There are a few more questions coming in. So there's a question around roles and permissions for these widgets. So if there is any specific role or a permission that people can set, so only if you can see, others cannot. If you could elaborate on that, that would be great.
Yeah, so as of now, we don't have roles and permissions. The only permission level option that you have is, if you are an SME user role, then you are not allowed to add or edit or even delete with widgets. But other than that, you can come, you can change the layout, and you can as well change the widget configuration or you can add even widgets. Because to be honest, the project dashboard spans across the project. It's not up to what kind of permission that you have, but do you have permission to write? So when you say write, you might come up, you might add automation based widgets. Someone else might come up, they might add manual based widgets, depending on how their license is. But from the project dashboard view, you need a consistent understanding of how your project is, irrespective of how much automation assets are being generated and how much of manual assets are being generated. That's why we've said that at the project dashboard level, as long as you have a permission like QA engineer, a business owner, or as long as you are not an SME user and you have right privileges, you can come up, add more, edit more, even delete. It's all available for now. But yeah, we do want to have roles, and we will plan it out like how uh, that ties up with the user role that we have. So once we have that, I think we'll have it in our future releases.
All right. I know we have a couple more minutes, but I still have people asking us questions around, widgets for manual, assets and execution and automation. So let me ask you one more thing. So basically, the question is, can we have data sets for manual and automations displayed side by side?
Uh, so as I said, we do want to have the unified view option as the third option in the test type where I showed. But for now, what you have to do is, let's say you have the same widget, and you have to add the, maybe in the name or in the description, that hey, this is for automation, and then clone the widget and create the same one, but choose the manual as the radio option there as a test asset, right? So if I have to, let's say, go
Yeah,
here.
let us show that, Vivek.
Yeah,
To
I'll
create
I'll
a
just
manual
demo that. So
widget.
let's
Yeah.
say if I go for clone, uh, let's say I clone, so I get this clone for now. I can come back, I can edit, I can change, and this time the same configuration, but I want it in manual. It says that hey, you want us switching to manual, things which are not applicable in manual will go away. For example, custom fields which are not available in the manual test suites might go away, which is completely fine in this case. And in this case, if you see, there was no change because all these changes are applicable to manual as well, and you can go and come and save it. Of course, for now, if I save it, it will result in zero data. But yeah, if you had assets, the exact configuration with just manual, and if I just say update the widget, of course, right now it has no data. But what you want is that you want to keep them side by side and distinguish them by the name, which could be auto test suites by type, and then side next to it immediate manual test suites by type.
All right. Thank you. I know we're at time here. I'll just ask you one last question. And then, want to let other people know that, your questions, if they have not been answered, we will actually answer, and I'll be reaching out to you as well personally if there's anything that you wanted to ask more on this. One last question, Vivek. Can we share links directly to a widget?
Yes. So when you say link directly to a widget, it will give you the report link, which is the tabular one. If you copy it, and of course, where it will land you is in the screen. So once you're in the screen, you can either go back or you can keep and toggling here, where you see the complete data or the tabular data. You can come back, you can choose the scenarios, and you can look at the chart view of it as well. So it applies the same configuration in both sides. So when I say copy a link, this is where you will land on the tabular view.
All right. All right. Thank you for that, Vivek. Very informative. And there was a lot of other questions as well that folks were kind of answering. So again, To everybody on the call, thank you for attending this session. I hope your questions were answered. If there is anything outstanding, just write back to us, write back to me, and we'll make sure that your answers are given to you. Right. Once again, thank you so much for attending. Hopefully, this has been of much help to you, and hopefully, this feature can be adopted and utilized by you guys. And thank you very much. And Vivek, Amarnath, Josh, thank you all as well.